Alright guys, so we're going to be talking today about Alright guys, so we're going to be talking today about the Hueyatlaco Archeological Site in Mexico. And as it says here, uncovers 250,000-year-old settlement. Now I'm just showing this blog real quick because it has some pretty cool pictures. But we're gonna go through a lot of material, so make sure to watch the whole video completely. It says here, humans were hunting mastodons in Mexico 250,000 years ago. That sounds just like what they found in California, talking about 130,000 years ago. This archaeological heresy is supported by finding at Hueyatlaco. Hueyatlaco is an archaeological site in Valsequillo, Mexico. Several potential pre-Clovis localities were found in the 1960s around the edge of the Valsequillo Reservoir in Mexico. One of these localities is the site of Hueyatlaco. This site was excavated by Cynthia Irvin Williams, all right, and she has a lot of credentials sent over there. And this was Virginia C. McIntyre. She writes, Hueyatlaco is a dangerous site. To even publicly mention the geological evidence for its great age is to jeopardize one's professional career. 3 of us geologists can testify to that. Its very existence is blasphemous because it questions a basic dogma of Darwinism, the ruling philosophy or religion, if you will, of the Western scientific world for the past 150 years. That dogma states that over a long period of time, members of the human family have generally become more and more intelligent. The Hueyatlaco site is thus impossible because mid-Pleistocene humans weren't smart enough to do all that the evidence implies. All right, you see what they're saying? Oh no, humans couldn't have done that in America. No. Besides, there is no New World anthropoid stock from which they could have evolved, right? They're like, plus there wasn't people there, right? They're trying to say there was no people here. It says beds containing human artifacts at Valsequillo, Mexico have been dated at approximately 250,000 years before the present by fission track dating of volcanic material and uranium dating of camel pelvis. You think this is just a website, right, guys? I know we're just in the beginning, but as you guys can see, look at this column that's right here. Again, you can't even see this site right now because it's buried still. It's buried. It's not even above ground. It's old. Now there's a great article in the Quaternary Research from 1981, volume 16. And it's this one right here, as you guys can see, from Cambridge University Press. I wasn't able to get access to this, but I want to show you guys that, you know, like it says here, this is from the USGS.gov, the US Geological Society, right? Or survey. Geologic evidence for age of deposits at Hueyatlaco Archeological Site, Valsequillo, Mexico, January 1, 1981. Direct tracing of beds during excavation in May 1973 confirmed that the artifact-bearing layers of Hueyatlaco underlie 10 meters of fine-grained water-laid deposits that constitute part of the widespread Valsequillo gravels. Dissection of these deposits by the adjacent reef, Otoyac, has reached a depth of 50 meters. The stratigraphic section at Hueyatlaco includes 4 distinctive tephra units. The oldest one occupies a small channel in series of cut and fill streams deposits that have yielded bifacial tools. It lies more than a meter above flat-lying, fine-grained beds from which etched recharge tools have been recovered. The 3 other tephra units occur higher in the section. Fission tracks ages of zircon phenocryst from 2 of the younger tephra layers. 370,000. They're like, what? 200,000 and 600,000. What? 340,000 years. What? Agree with concordant uranium series dates for a camel pelvis that was found associated with bifacial tools at Hueyatlaco. 245,000, huh? They're like, what? 40,000 years by 230th, 180,000 years by 231 PA. These dates are compatible with the depth of burial and subsequent dissection of the Hueyatlaco deposits, as well as with the degree of hydration of volcanic glass shards and with the extent of etching of heavy mineral phenocryst from within the tephra layers. These findings suggest to us that further search for archaeological remains in deposits as old as those of Hueyatlaco would be warranted. All right? I'm trying to tell you guys, I'm trying to show you guys here, this is official. The geologists are telling you, yo, this is what our tests are saying. This is what we're finding. And this is still buried today, guys. They don't want to accept this. It seems that the archaeologists carry more weight. And it seems monkey bones carry more weight. I'm in Graham Hancock's website. Graham Hancock, great author, right? I read a lot of his books before, you know, the internet even came around. Yeah, I was following Graham Hancock for a while. I was reading a lot of his books back then. He's actually talking about this in his website here. He has a blog here. It says the first American. Again, the first American. We're talking about 200,000 years ago. It says the suppressed story of the people who discovered the new world. All right. And again, they're always trying to say that people came here, that they weren't here, right? But again, Dodge the Hijack, America's the true old world. It says here, the first American by Christopher Hardaker. We're going to read a little bit about this book, all right? We don't have full access. I have it right here. Just want to read a little bit what Graham Hancock has to say. It says here, the discoveries. This is the story of a remarkable art piece discovered in 1959 by an equally remarkable man at the Valsequillo Reservoir outside the city of Puebla, about 75 miles south of Mexico City. Juan Armenta Camacho stunned the world with his discovery of a mineralized elephant pelvis with engravings of elephants, big cats, and other extinct animals. All right, guys, so not only are they just finding artifacts here and evidence of man living here and these deposits that are supposed to be that old, right? They're also found a pelvis, right, with drawings, a pelvis of one of those large elephants, a bone. Yeah, they drew on the bone. They put engravings of what? Elephants. So somebody, a person was drawing elephants, big cats. We're talking about the lions, the jaguars. We already know all these things originated here in America. Check out my Ancient Animals of America video. We've proven this. And other extinct animals. Now, what is significant about this, right? We're talking about art, right, guys? We're talking about people creating art, drawing. This is old. This would be the oldest art a human has done that has been found. The engravings had been made when the bone was still fresh, still green. Whoever made these engravings actually saw those animals and probably even ate and prayed to them. The most amazing creature of them all was smack dab in the middle of the thing, a four-tusked gomphothere. What is that? You guys are going to see an ancestor of the mastodon. So this is from our Elephants in America video. This is one of their ancestors. I told you that the ancestors of the elephants were found throughout America. We're talking about elephants originating here too in America. And they found a drawing of a gomphothere in this mastodon bone. So meaning the person saw that this animal, as it says here, and extinct in US for over a million years. It's supposed to have been extinct for over a million years, yet a human drew it, a human who made an engraving on a mastodon pelvis that was found in deposits that are supposed to be over 200,000 years old based on the test done by the US Geological Survey. This is what I'm trying to explain to you guys. I hope you guys are following so far. We're talking about drawings here. Look at this, guys. The oldest. This would be the oldest. But in central Mexico, these mythical beasts lived among mammoths and mastodons and humans. This was absolutely amazing. Other engraved pieces were also found. Nobody in the Americas had ever seen anything like this before. They were all mineralized. It was totally new in every meaning of the word, except for their age, which could be very old. Harvard archaeologist Cynthia Irvin Williams, all right? We're talking about a Harvard archaeologist. Even Cynthia, even though she don't agree with the other lady from the, because this is an archaeologist, right? She dated it to about 30,000 years, which predated all the Clovis theories, right? Clovis first, talking about 12,000 years ago, Bering Strait. So even she agrees that it's much older than that. So that whole Bering Strait theory is debunked by Cynthia, Harvard archaeologist, and Juan Armenta Camacho, with direct support from Harvard and the Smithsonian, found another 80 to 90 mammoth and mastodon bone sites around the perimeter of the reservoir in 1962. Then they excavated 3 sites on the Tetela Peninsula. All had artifacts next to mineralized bones that were left behind after butchering. The sites themselves were laid out pretty much how the hunters left them. The features were covered by successive layers of sands and silts deposited by a very slow creek, and were laid out in the same positions as they were originally buried. In the business of paleoarchaeology, it is called primary deposition, and in this respect, Valsequillo was pure gold. For example, Irvin Williams found a horse jaw. Remember that horses originated in America. Yes, all that originated here, not over there in Asia or Africa. And a tooth from it was an inch away from the jaw. This meant virtually no bone movement when they were buried. About half-inch away was a stone knife. You guys hear that? There was a knife next to this. It was immaculate feature, so good that they sought it out in a square block, a portable feature destined for the National Museum. It was just priceless. For the people of Mexico, it meant national pride. The city of Puebla began celebrating as the Eden of the Americas. It was all there in that feature block. This feature block was later vandalized and destroyed by the Mexican archaeologists who signed the official dig permits. This was the same official who would later falsely testify that the artifacts were planted. This charge was laughably dispatched by Irvin Williams' 3,000 photographs detailing the excavation and extraction of each piece, also currently missing. You guys hear that? The lady from Harvard said no. So they were trying to debunk the lady from Harvard, and she had how many photographs? Look at that. 3,000. Proven the excavation, which also, all this stuff has disappeared, right, guys? Smithsonian, she worked for the Smithsonian. What she thought was going to happen. Welcome to Dubai West. So this is a picture of the area. Hueyatlaco right here, El Horno. These are different sites. The real problem was that the bones were mineralized. Carbon-14 dating was useless. For 6 years, nobody knew how old these sites were. It was absolute frustrating. Here you are with a trio of neighboring sites that were very probably the earliest ever uncovered in the New World. Everything was perfect, except you could not date the sites. At the time of 1968, the oldest site in the Americas clocked in at 12,000 years, aka 10,000 BC. Yeah, right. What you think, this is Turkey? No, we go older than that. Again, that was debunked. Crossing the Siberian land bridge to Alaska, the Clovis mammoth killers arrived with their ultra-sleek spearhead, maybe the best on the planet at the time. What was not considered a bit strange, however, was that no 12,000-year-old Clovis points had ever been found in Canada, Alaska, or Siberia, so there's no trace of their migration, so that was all made up. After decades of looking, there was still no trace of the Clovis trail. Oh well, details. It was Clovis or bust, and its defenders demanded archaeological perfection for any site that dared challenge their cherished, though untested theory. Again, theory, nicknamed Clovis first. That was all theories, just like the out of Africa theory. Just by looking at the hardened sediments, almost sandstone, Irvin Williams and Mary Warmington knew right off that they were probably older. But how much older? 8,000 years older, like 13,000 years ago, or maybe even 15,000 years ago? This was an extremely tender issue among the Orthodox. Many had challenged the pre-Clovis crown, and all were tossed down the academic toilet. Now it was Valsequillo's turn, and it was armed for bear. Valsequillo had art, and it had unmistakable spearheads. Valsequillo's artifacts types were definitely those of modern man. Again, modern man, not monkeys. Simple retouched points made out of shirt flakes were found in the older artifact beds, while higher up in the younger, more recent beds they found full-fledged spearheads and knives, bifacially flaked. They were modern, all right, but they were also much more primitive than the immaculate Clovis points, all right? It's much older than all that Clovis stuff. That has been debunked. Could it be that the Valsequillo hunters were the ancestors of the Clovis mammoth hunters? The modern period starts with the Old World Upper Paleolithic period, around 40,000 years ago. This was the beginning of modern man, Homo sapiens sapiens, all right? You guys understand what they're telling you? Because this lady from Harvard dated these artifacts from modern humans at the same time when modern humans are supposed to be coming out in other parts of the world. Man who thinks he thinks. The blade to biface revolution happens over there also. And now for the first time in the New World, this critical phase of technological evolution turns up in the New World, in central Mexico. This was huge in itself. The theoretical potential of such discoveries would be shattering. The artifacts, the art, and the sandy silt matrix immediately challenged the Clovis firsters. Dr. Warmington even conceded that Valsequillo could be 40,000 years. Everyone agreed, however, that it could not be earlier than 40,000 years because only modern man was intelligent enough to manage the trip from Siberia to the New World. It was common knowledge. All right, so they're like, yeah, but it can't be older than that because before that it's the monkeys. Uh-oh. Without clear dates for the artifacts, talk was cheap and frustrations grew. Then geological science entered the fray. In 1968, a USGS geologist suggested using his new uranium series technique to date the bone, and that's when everything fell apart. The bone dates from the Tetela sites were 250,000 years old, and so opened up one of the craziest archaeological wormholes in history. That's a quarter million years old. Modern man didn't live back then, and all the artifacts from Valsequillo were fancy spearheads and blades. Things we mods didn't know how to make until 30, 40,000 years ago. And there was art. And Valsequillo was 250,000 years old. That's Homo erectus time. And there's art. It not only threatened to trash the American paradigm of prehistory, it would also trash the old world paradigm for the last phases of human evolution. All right, debunking evolution. This was serious. There were modern stone tools in Mexico that were 200,000 years older than the earliest modern tools in Europe and Asia and Africa. It was nuts. It was impossible any way you looked at it. Geologists kept coming up with similar ages for the site, no matter what they threw at it. And no matter what the geological sciences turned up, no matter all their tests that they were saying no, we did numerous tests. The archaeological community fought back with stifling wall of absolute silence and non-comment. They would have none of it, period. The wormhole became an academic black hole. The region became a forbidden zone. And Valsequillo dropped from the lips of credibility. You guys hear what happened? In the end, the archaeologists won through silence. Irvin Williams never published an official volume, not even site reports. Why did she go there then? She was sent by Harvard. Listen to what happened. What happened to all her work there? And the curiosity that raged through the professional community was calmly checked at the door of credibility. So anybody that spoke up lost their credentials. So everybody just got silent. What happened to the artifacts, the art? Gone, lost, missing, destroyed. There was lots of stuff, priceless stuff. Now it is forgotten stuff. Largely a non-subject on both sides of the border, with professionals from Mexico and the US sharing a common disinterest. This was America's first art, first periods, first kill sites, and a lot of other firsts as well. It satisfied all the required perfections demanded by the Clovis first crowd, and it was still flushed down the academic toilet. The archaeologists would not work with the geologists unless they recanted their ridiculous dates. The geologists could not do this. Every time they dated the site with different dating techniques, the site came out as old or older than 200,000 years. I told you guys, the geologists are going with their results. And it would take a lot more than catcalls by angry archaeologists to make the geologists betray the scientific laws governing their evidence. Science is not opinion, but that was all the archaeologists could muster. Opinions. And in the end, the archaeologists won by default, by absolute non-comment, not even a whisper. And that was pretty much that. Had it not been for a long holdout geologist from the original project, one of America's greatest archaeology stories would have been lost to the fog of professional amnesia. She was able to recover the archives of Irwin Williams, who had passed away several years earlier. Letters, notes, some photos, and other materials would show that Valsequillo was pure archaeological gold. It may not have been the earliest contender for the pre-Clovis throne, but it was simply the best. And my archaeological elders didn't tell us about it, or they felt compelled to forget about it. Only deep therapy will tell. One thing is certain. From that point on, for the next 30 years, first American studies were held hostage by the myth of Adam and Eve, Clovis. Today, Valsequillo still remains unresolved. The good news is that pros are back doing work at one of the sites. A couple of years ago, another investigator reported finding human footprints in lava a few miles away. It is an ongoing drama, and this is the prequel. Now I want to show you guys here as they show you who was involved, some of the people. It says here the players. The list below is from the 1967 NSF grant proposal by Irwin Williams and the project geologist Al Maldi on loan by USGS. Most of these people were primetime players during the 1960s and included at least two notable Clovis firsters. It was an early instance of integrated and multidisciplined approach to archaeology. The potential worldwide implications for the Valsequillo discoveries could be monumental, and the world was watching. The official model for the rise of modern humans was facing its greatest challenge. It says here, Principal Investigator J.O. Brew from the Peabody Museum in Harvard. Circumfission track dating, Charles Nazer, USGS branch of isotope geology. These are the people that are telling you it's 200,000 years old. Volcanic ash chronology, Virginia Steen McIntyre. She was one of the main ones right here. She's from the USGS field geochemistry and petrology. In archaeology, we have Cynthia Irvin Williams from the Peabody Museum in Harvard. H. Marie Warmington, Denver Museum of Natural History. Geology, Harold E. Maldy, U.S. Geological Survey. Vertebrate Paleontology, Clayton E. Ray from Smithsonian Institute. Now you know why it's been hidden. Soil Stratigraphy, Roald Frixell, Washington State University. U-Series Dating, Barney Sabo, USGS branch of Isotopic Geology. Halinology, Poland. Paul S. Martin, University of Arizona, Geochrome Lab. It says here 14C Dating, Mayer Rubin, USGS. C. Vance Haynes, University of Arizona. Neutron Activation Analysis, Gordon Gold, University of Oregon. Paleomagnetic Dating, Joseph C. Litico, USGS. Alright, so I just wanted to show you guys that. This is not just anybody creating a blog on the internet, Wikipedia and all that, right? We're talking about real scientists who confirmed this, and this was flushed down the toilet. I'm going to read from this book real quick. It says here, The First American, The Suppressed Story of the People Who Discovered the New World, by Christopher Hardaker. This book is about our knowledge of early man. There are two subplots, early man in the old world and early man in the new world. So-called new world, right? Much is known about early man in the old world, where new discoveries continue to expand our knowledge base. Unfortunately, in the new world, right here in the Americas, our knowledge is largely limited to Clovis and younger cultures. Right, Clovis has been debunked. The study of potential pre-Clovis sites is not encouraged, and those who report a possible pre-Clovis site do so at significant risk to their career. So you guys hear what happens? An important part of this book reviews what is known about early man site along the shores of Valsequillo Reservoir, south of Puebla in central Mexico. It is a fascinating tale with a lot of data which are accepted by most geologists and not accepted by most archaeologists. As a scientist, I am embarrassed that it has taken more than 30 years for archaeologists and geologists to revisit the bone and artifact deposits at Valsequillo Reservoir. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, data were presented that suggested early man had been in the New World much earlier than anyone had previously thought. Rather than further investigate the discoveries, which is what should have been done, they were buried under the sands of time. All right, you guys hear? This is not a conspiracy. They literally did this in the hope that they would be forgotten. My idea of science is to investigate anomalous data and hopefully learn something new. Unfortunately, the Clovis first mentality was so ingrained in North American archaeology that no further work was undertaken. My first contact with the bone and artifact deposits of the Valsequillo Reservoir came in the early 1970s, when I was asked if I would date zircons from some tephra unit layers of volcanic pumice ash. All right, so here he's a geologist. They asked him to go do the dating that overlay the artifact-bearing beds. I agreed to take on the study, as I was aware of the controversy regarding the age of the site. At the time, I was sharing an office with Barney Sabo, the geochemist who had provided the uranium series dates that started the controversy. His ages suggested that the artifact beds were in excess of 200,000 years old. This did not sit well with the archaeologists in charge of the project. The original paper by Sabo, Maldy, and Irvin Williams, Earth and Planetary Science Letters from 1969, you guys can look for it, sets the stage for the controversy. Geochronology versus archaeology. This is the only paper of which I am aware where one co-author submits a rebuttal in the midst of an otherwise straightforward scientific paper. Additional data suggests an old age for the deposits came shortly after the Sabo paper. Virginia Steen McIntyre, while studying the characteristics of the overlying tephra units, discovered two things that suggested an old age. Although neither of the techniques she used provides a direct age in years, the results can be compared with similar material of known age, and thus an age for the unknown deposits can be inferred. She found that hyperstein crystals in the tephras were deeply etched. Rather than being pristine, well-formed crystals, they resembled a picket fence. Hyperstein crystals form a 24,000-year-old tephra in similar climatic environment elsewhere in Mexico displayed minimal evidence of etching, suggesting that the age of Valsequillo tephras is greatly in excess of 24,000 years. Her second piece of evidence is from tephra hydration dating based on the amount of water absorbed by the volcanic glass shards in the tephras. When volcanic glass shards form, they typically contain minute gas bubbles. With time, the glass gradually absorbs water. The greater the amount of water in the glass, the older is its age. Eventually, the gas bubble cavities begin to fill with water. This is known as superhydration. Bubble cavities in the two Valsequillo tephra layers that could be dated by the method contain water. Comparison of the percentage of water in the bubble cavities to the percentage in tephras of known age suggested an age about 250,000 years for the Valsequillo tephras. Thus, by the time I got my zircons today, 3 lines of evidence suggested that these deposits were greater than 200,000 years old. Now listen to this. This guy's telling you that before he even did his type of dating and scientific testing, there was already 3 people telling him, 3 geologists different using methods, that it was old. Now he was going to do his testing. I determined fission track ages on zircons from 2 of the tephra units overlying the artifact beds. The Hueyatlaco ash yielded a zircon fission track age of 370,000 plus or minus 200,000 years, and the Tetela brown mud yielded an age of 600,000 plus or minus 340,000 years. There is a 96% chance that the true age of these tephras lie within the range defined by the age and the plus or minus value. Now, there were 4 different geological dating techniques that suggested a far greater antiquity to the artifacts than anyone in the archaeological community wanted to admit. You guys hear that? They did 4 different types of tests, the geologists, and they determined those dates. The archaeologists, I'm trying to tell you guys, they didn't have no carbon dating. Virginia Steen McIntyre presented all of the results on the geology and age of the deposit at a symposium on the New World Archaeological Geology in 1973. The following quote from a summary of the conference, Geology 1974, page 77, has been on my wall ever since. C. Irvin Williams, who did the original archaeologic work, believes that such a great age is virtually impossible, and that sources of error must be sought in the dating methods. With the exceptions of a few papers by Virginia Steen McIntyre in the geological literature, the unique and exciting discovery of an old early man site in North America ceased to exist. In my mind, this is where the scientific method failed. There were geologic indicators that someone had been here 200,000 years ago or more. Unfortunately, the existing paradigm was that no one preceded the Clovis cultures to the Americas, and that it was a waste of time and resources to even look for pre-Clovis sites. Through the scientific method of investigating the world around us, many paradigms have come and gone, being replaced with newer ones, such as the Earth and other planets circle the Sun. The Earth is spherical. The continents have drifted, and evolution explains the great diversity of species. You guys hear that? Those are all the hijacks. Well, Dash the hijack, he's letting you know those are all the hijacks. Spherical, Earth. Okay, the idea of Clovis being the first New World culture needs to be tested, not just accepted. I was pleasantly surprised a few years ago when I learned that Marshall Payne was going to revisit the Valsequillo deposits. A lot of new and exciting data has come from this renewed interest. Perhaps the most exciting is the data presented by Sam Van Landingham on diatoms, microscopic fossils, from within the artifact beds and overlying younger beds. He finds species of diatoms that became extinct about 80,000 years ago. That is another piece of geological evidence that indicates an old age for these deposits. So now we have at least 5 independent geological age estimates that all indicate an old pre-Clovis age for the Valsequillo site. The factors that affect the accuracy of each of these techniques are so different that it is highly unlikely that all 5 techniques could significantly overestimate the age. One of my colleagues always tried to interpret geological processes using principle of Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is usually correct. In this case, we have the choice of accepting the results of 5 independent geological techniques as correct and concluding that the artifacts are greater than 200,000 years old, or alternatively arguing that for very different reasons there is something significantly wrong with each of the geological age estimates. I think that the readers of this book will find that the Clovis first paradigm is listened badly and quite possibly has sunk against the rocks of renewed scientific inquiry. C.W. Neisser, Herndon, Virginia. Now we get to read a little bit of chapter 1, something very interesting that I realized that it talks about here. I'm gonna explain to you guys. It says here 2 old bones, huh? 2 old bones, right? What are these 2 old bones? It says in 1959, 2 fossilized bones were discovered on opposite sides of the earth, right? Listen, 1959, they found 2 bones. So they're gonna tell you one was in America and one was in Africa. Pay attention to this. Each promised to change the way we looked at human evolution. One succeeded, the other did not. Okay? That's a big one right there. Which one do you guys think succeeded? Yeah, the monkey bone. In June, Lewis and Mary Leakey discovered Singe, a pre-human skull. Alright? Pre-human. That's not human. Pre-human skull deep within Africa's Olduvai Gorge. Singe, short for Sinjatrophus boisei, belonged to the genus Australopithecines. Alright, you guys hear this? Which immediately preceded our genus Homo. Okay? Australopithecus. A year later, Mary happened across a couple of bones on a side of a road. They were much more human-like the real tool users. Much more human, but they weren't still human, guys. They were knighted Homo habilis, Latin for handyman, the toolmaker. For others, Olduvai Gorge, right? They're still not modern humans. They're different type. Again, this is what they're talking about. Australopithecus robustus, which is what they're finding on the other side in Africa. What they're saying humans evolved from. One of the apes, all right? You can see how he's cheesing right here. He's like, smile for the camera. Planet of the Apes, smile for the camera. Say cheese, cheese. Like, don't worry. I got you, dog. I got you. Don't worry, man. Say cheese. What's be like, hey, man, I'm your ancestor, man. I'm your ancestor. And he's like, what you talking about, Willis? What you talking about, Willis? Yeah, I'm just saying, man. I'm your ancestor, yeah. All right, so you guys see this is what they're finding in Africa, okay? This is what they're finding in Africa in 1959, right? All right, so Australopithecines. For 30 lackluster years, Louis Leakey remained true to his theory that East Africa held the keys that would unlock the evolutionary secrets of the human species. A generation of looking finally paid off. These discoveries established East Africa as the fertile crescent of human beginnings. Age estimates ran anywhere from 300,000 to 500,000 years. Dates from a new technique called potassium argon that dated lava and volcanic ash said it was more like 2 million years ago. All right, so they're talking about the monkey bones, though, guys. They're not talking about modern humans. Africa's role in human evolution, previously considered a backwater, became paramount. So they're letting you know that before that, nobody was really going down with that. This is when they made the belief real. This is when they created their whole theories a reality. It turned the archaeological world upside down because of the attention paid to this discovery. Not because everybody was like, oh, look, they found a monkey bone, our ancestors over there, right? Because the attention paid to this discovery, the past 50 years have witnessed countless African excavations paying homage to our pre-modern, that's not my pre-modern ancestor, our pre-modern ancestors and their modernizing progeny. Africa's new fame owed it all to the discovery of a single bone. All right, they're talking about one little bone, and now we all from Africa from monkeys. You guys see what they did in 1959? All right, so let's continue. It says here, 2 bones that shook up the world were found months apart in 1959. Top to tell the first, America's earliest art piece found by Juan Armenta Camacho, April 1959. Remember, they found art in the pelvis of a mastodon bone in 1959 in this deposit that's being dated back 200,000 years old by geologists. And they're talking about in Africa about monkeys, right? That can't even draw. Think about that. Months apart. Listen to what they're telling you. Months apart. Listen to this. Bottom. Cinch, aka Australopithecus robustus. Australopithecus robustus. Australopithecus robustus. All right. You guys understand what's going on? All right. They're finding art, human art. They're finding human art over here. Presence of modern human, because they're finding spearheads and everything, weapons and everything, things that modern humans did, right? They're finding all that. And then they're talking about monkey bones in Africa, found by Mary Leakey, July 1959. All right. I want you guys to pay attention to what I'm about to say right here. So look, they found the art in April, right? In America, proven there was humans here that created art. I'm about modern humans. Deposits of 200,000 years old, according to geology. And then in July, months later, right? What comes first? April or July? I'll wait. What comes first? April or July? April, right? This came first. And then what they do? What did they do? They say, well, hey, we gotta do something. They found it. They're finding the truth over there. It's gonna prove America's the true old world. We gotta find some more monkeys. And look what happened in July. Look what happened in July, guys. I know a lot of people might take this like I'm trying to be disrespectful or not, but I'm just literally, to me, this is such a huge joke. Like, this is so messed up what they did. Again, the guy telling you, they drew all the attention. Of course, nobody paid attention to what was being discovered in America. They drew all the attention, and now everybody's from a monkey, and everybody's out of Africa again. All right? This is your ancestor, the monkey man. The monkey man, they're saying, is your ancestor. Is that really who your ancestor is? A few months earlier in central Mexico, self-taught fossil hunter Juan Armenta Camacho was prowling around the Valsequillo Basin about 120 kilometers southeast of Mexico City, a favorite haunt of his since the early 1930s. The hardened alluvial deposits of this ancient basin were a world-renowned source of Ice Age fossils: horse, camel, tapirs, saber-toothed cats, and 3 kinds of extinct elephants: mammoth, mastodons, and the four-tusked Gomophathir Reconterium. I showed you guys, those look almost just like elephants today, just much bigger, with big husk. During his rounds on that April day in 1959, Armenta found a bone sticking out of the hardened sediments. He pried it free, just another mineralized pelvis fragment from an old elephant, but he kept it anyway. That evening, he began cleaning the specimen, brushing off the gritty matrix still sticking to the piece. Then he saw them, engravings of extinct animals, such as a feline figure with spears running through its body. Okay? A serpent's head. A serpent's head? A tapir, a short-faced bear, and several types of elephants. Taking center stage was the incredibly ancient Gomophathir, a four-tusked cousin of the mastodon, and recently given a cameo role in the Lord of the Rings series. It was gone from the States a million years ago, but apparently hung out with the other elephants in central Mexico a lot longer. Nobody knows exactly when it died out. A year later, the engraved bone was on exhibit at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. You see who took it? Oh, it's lost today, right? You see what happened? It was given its own spread in Life magazine. It was even in Life magazine. It was not a hoax, okay? This was real. Smithsonian Institute displayed it. It was on Life magazine. This was not a hoax. This was real. The art had been engraved when the elephant bone was still fresh, still green. The elephant and the other animals pictured had all died out at least 10,000 years ago, marking the end of the Pleistocene Ice Age. The mineralized art piece had to be at least as old as the Ice Age, if not older. Armenta's life of exploring and study had paid off. He always knew there were artifacts among Valsequillo's prehistoric bones, but the pros always snubbed the evidence. Not this time. In Mexico, it was hard to get any more exposure than Juan Armenta Camacho received. His New World discovery was on par with Leakey's discovery in East Africa. Each finding meant an entirely different thing, but each carried a TNT punch that shook the foundations of archaeology. Okay? Again, repeat that. Listen, guys, each finding meant an entirely different thing. Meaning, you got a lie, an out of Africa theory, a whole lie, and then you got the truth, an archaeological actual artifact. Mexican scientists had judged that the Valsequillo beds could go back several 100,000 years, perhaps to the beginning of the Pleistocene. Almost simultaneously, two archaeological revolutions exploded on opposite sides of the world. Leaky and the Olduvai Gorge in Africa became household words. All right, so that got more attention. It was more popular because you know how the hijack works. They're trying to promote that. And Armenta and Valsequillo drifted into nothingness, right? They got no attention. They forgot about them on purpose. How come? In 1961, the engraved bone was hallowed by the prestigious volume, the American Heritage Book of Indians. It echoes what many archaeologists and prehistorians were beginning to ponder about the Valsequillo discovery. All right, so real quick, I want to show you guys that book they were just talking about, the American Heritage Book of Indians. On page 28, they're talking about man's early marks, and they're talking about the actual drawing. You see, the mastodon bone. It says here, as more of the early marks of man are found, the horizon may be pushed back even further. The incised mastodon bone below, unearthed in Mexico in 1959, hints that man may have been in the New World as much as 30,000 years ago or older, right? All right, so this is what he was talking about, how they put it in this book, letting you know it must be older. It's gotta be. So this book was still going with the Clovis stuff, right? So again, the book goes over the information we kind of went over. Everything pointed to archaeology older than the Clovis period. Everything pointed to Valsequillo as a paradigm buster, a site that would destroy the primacy of the prevailing Clovis theory. They only had to wait for the dates. Then thunderstruck 250,000 years, give or take 50,000 years. Then something stranger happened. The archaeologists walked away. They just went home. For them, the days were so old that to take them seriously would impugn their own scientific credibility. All right, so that's why Cynthia didn't want to admit it was that old, because she's like, well, I already dated it, 40, 50,000. I already told you it's older than Clovis, let's not get exaggerated. So she would have to be, kind of saying she was wrong. So of course she wasn't going to admit that. So I wanted to show you guys that if you actually look for this, you find a lot of good articles actually in scientific studies and reviews. It says here, World Archaeology, Valsequillo Pleistocene Archaeology and Dating, ongoing controversy in central Mexico. Okay, this is from 2006. There's also this other article I found here, which is very, very interesting because this is another actual scientific dating test they did. A whole different method, right, of something they had found in the same region, Valsequillo region. This is from the Micropaleontology magazine or book. This is volume 50 or journal, right, number 4, on 2004, pages 313 and 342. All right, 30 pages. If you want to read it, if you want to look for it, it's on JSTOR. You can read the whole thing. The name is Corroboration of Sangamonian Age of Artifacts from the Valsequillo region, Puebla, Mexico, by means of diatom biostratigraphy by Sam L. van Landenham. All right, so basically what they're going to tell you here is that they found something else, right? Another artifact in another place in the same region, right? Valsequillo region. What did they determine? It says important artifact. This is the abstract. So this is what you find right here. This is very blurry if you guys want me to read it, but I'd rather read this part right here because it's very clear. It says abstract. Important artifacts have been found in situ, not redeposited. Again, they have been found there, meaning they're not hoaxes. Nobody posited them there. Within lacustrine deposits in the Valsequillo region. These deposits contain many diatoms which indicate an age corresponding to the Sangamonian interglacial sensu lato, 80,000 to 220,000 years before the present. 2 of the 4 samples in this study are associated with the Dorenberg skull or with stratigraphic units. We're talking about skulls, people, humans. 2004. They find it in these deposits that are dating back to 80,000 to 220,000 years old. A whole different method. These 4 diatomaceous samples yielded 30 extant and 143 extant diatom taxa. The ages of the 4 samples correspond to other diatomaceous samples, some of which are associated with artifacts from nearby Valsequillo localities. They're talking about the ones they found in Hueyatlaco. It corresponds. So again, The whole article is basically to corroborate that they actually found other artifacts in Valsequillo region that are also being dated up to 200,000 years old by means of diatom biostratigraphy, a whole different method. All right, this is real science. If you're going with science, right? All the science lovers. So we go back to the original website I showed you in the beginning of the video. They have some good references here I want to go over. So we got this article, Suppressed Evidence for Ancient Man in Mexico. And again, it goes over all the information, all the evidence and what went on. Another great article. You guys can check it out. Again, this is all on this website, hueyatlaco.blogspot.com. There's another article here, review of the Valsequillo, Mexico early man archaeological sites with emphasis on the geological investigations by Harold Maldi. All right, a whole article right here that we're not going to get into because it's basically just proving the same thing over and over. This is his work. Remember, there was 5 different geologists that did different tests and they all came up with the same conclusions. We also got Vestigios de labor humana en huesos de animales extintos de Valsequillo. That's in Spanish. That's the guy who found the bone. He wrote his own article. Then we got Sabo. Remember Sabo? He did his own testing. And he wrote an article. It's called Dilemma Posed by Uranium Series Dates on Archaeologically Significant Bones from Valsequillo, Puebla, Mexico. Okay, and then we got the article from the coordinated research we saw earlier, Geologic Evidence for Age of Deposits at Hueyatlaco Archeological Site. You guys can read all that, the whole study, the research is there, the evidence, the proof is there. And you want to go with monkey bones? All right, and there's even more. This is from metallicman.com. It says here in the archaeological dilemma of the 250,000-year-old Hueyatlaco site remains. And of course, Ancient Origins also covers this. You guys know this website. Controversy at Hueyatlaco, when did humans first inhabit the Americas? What happens when an archaeological site is so extraordinary that it threatens to eclipse everything we knew about history up to that point? Some discoveries are just too hard to fully grasp, and that makes us question their accuracy. Hueyatlaco in Mexico is one such archaeological site, forcing us to reconsider the time frame of human habitation in the Americas by a lot. The finds presented at Hueyatlaco are still a matter of heated debate among scholars today. They're still debating it even though the science is there, but one thing is certain, there are still many unanswered questions which need to be explored. We're here on bcvideo.com. Let's hear new evidence of early man suppressed. What happens when scientific evidence conflicts with theory? In the early 60s, archaeological discoveries were made in central Mexico, which were the handiwork of early man. Exquisitely carved animal bones and advanced spear points caused much excitement, including a Life magazine article. Until the dates came in, 5 mutually exclusive geological tests revealed they were over 250,000 years old. In spite of the geochronology, archaeologists insisted the dates were too ridiculously old. This world-class archaeological region became off limits for official research, a professional forbidden zone.
There's something rotten in Denmark here. Something nasty is going on.
Just a vicious circle.
With each, successive investigation, the picture seemed to get even more complicated and confusing.
These people have been ordered not to grant me an interview.
Somebody didn't want that dig done.
In 1959, Louis Leakey and his wife Mary changed the vision of the world when they discovered the remains of an ancestral human who lived in Africa almost 2 million years ago. In the same year, perhaps even the same field season, one of the great coincidences in archaeological science occurred on the other side of the globe. In 1959, Juan Armenta Camacho, a gifted amateur, discovered stone artifacts and fossilized animal bones that were eroding from the banks of an old lake bed in central Mexico. The finds from Africa and Mexico share many similarities, but the story of what happened with each discovery is one of the most dramatically different parallels in the history of archaeology. While Leakey's finds were embraced as confirmation of man's origins in Africa, Armenta's discovery ignited a firestorm of controversy about man's first occurrence in the New World, and a suppression of evidence that continues to this day. Near the city of Puebla, about 70 miles southeast of Mexico City, a number of ancient volcanoes rise from the Central Plateau. The region was known to the Aztecs as the Land of Giants. When the Spanish began digging their foundations for their 17th century cathedrals, they had unearthed the bones of large mammals unlike anything they had ever seen. By the 1950s, paleontologists had known for decades that the shores of the Valsequillo Reservoir were a rich source of Pleistocene fossils, the bones of large mammals that had lived in the region long ago but became extinct at the end of the last ice age. Williams immediately knew that a 22,000-year-old date paralleled the oldest known spear points found in the Old World. This meant that if the spear points found at Hueyatlaco were any lower in the strat column than Calopan, she would have to face the unthinkable, that she had found the oldest spear points ever discovered in the New World. As controversial as this date was, it was nothing compared with what was yet to come. The release of the 22,000-year date triggered an avalanche of unexpected events. Dr. José Luis Lorenzo, head archaeologist at Mexico's National Museum, published a bulletin accusing Irwin Williams and Juan Armenta of planting their discoveries. Then, according to eyewitnesses, Lorenzo sent armed federales to the site to intimidate the workers, trying to elicit confessions that they planted the controversial spear points.
The people with the guns wanted the workers to say that the site was salted. What that means is that instead of digging the bones and the tools out from the sediments themselves, somebody planted them in the dirt and then dug them up and said, oh, we found them here.
All right, and for the dismount, we got this book, very good book. I owned the physical copy of this book a long time ago. I lost it before the internet came out. I used to read a lot of the Michael Kurimeo books. One of them is The Hidden History of the Human Race, which I also have read in some of my videos, and I had the physical copy. This book right here is Forbidden Archaeology by Michael A. Kurimeo and Richard L. Thompson. Again, Forbidden Archaeology, right? So we go to section 5.4.4 or chapter 5 or part 5, and it talks about Hueyatlaco, Mexico. In the 1960s, highly sophisticated stone tools, rivaling the best work of Cro-Magnon man in Europe, were unearthed by Juan Armenta Camacho and Cynthia Irwin Williams at Hueyatlaco near Valsequillo, 75 miles southeast of Mexico City. Stone tools of somewhat cruder nature were found at the nearby site of El Horno. At both the Hueyatlaco and El Horno sites, the stratigraphic location of the implements does not seem to be in doubt. However, these artifacts do have a very controversial feature. A team of geologists, some working for the U.S. Geological Survey, gave them dates of about 250,000 years before the present. This team working under a grant from the National Science Foundation, okay? It consisted of Harold Maldy and Virginia Steen McIntyre, both of the U.S. Geological Survey, and the late Roald Frixell of Washington State University. These geologists said 4 different dating methods independently yielded an anonymously great age for the artifacts found near Valsequillo. The dating methods used were uranium series dating, fission track dating, tetrahydration dating, and study of mineral weathering. The carbon-14 and potassium-argon methods were not applicable at the Hueyatlaco and El Horno sites, and paleomagnetic measurements did not provide any useful information, right? So let's not forget the diatom dating that we just read about that they did in another site in the same region, Valsequillo region, which also went back to 80 to 250,000 years old. As might be imagined, the date of about 250,000 years old obtained for Hueyatlaco by the U.S. Geological Survey team provoked a great deal of controversy. If accepted, it would have revolutionized not only the New World anthropology, but the whole picture of human origins. We're talking about America being a true old world, guys, here. Human beings capable of making the sophisticated tools found at Hueyatlaco are not thought to have come into existence until about 100,000 years ago in Africa. Do you guys see why they don't want to accept this? Of course, it is possible to dispute the dates reported by the U.S. Geological Survey team, but something more than a legitimate scientific disagreement over dating techniques appear to have been involved in the treatment of Hueyatlaco, as we shall see from the testimony of Virginia C. McIntyre. First, however, we shall examine how the anomalously old dates for the site were obtained. There's here negative reception of the Hueyatlaco evidence. Virginia C. McIntyre was sent us some of her correspondence, which documents the difficulties she had in publishing her findings on Hueyatlaco. We shall now introduce excerpts from this correspondence. Our purpose in doing so is to clarify how anomalous evidence is treated by the scientific community. Among the social processes that discourage acceptance and reporting of anomalous evidence are ridicule and gossip, including attacks on character and accusations of incompetence. Furthermore, discoveries have almost no impact in the world of science unless they are published in standard journals. The editorial process, especially the practice of anonymous peer review, often present an insurmountable obstacle. Some submissions are met with a wall of silence, others are shunted around for months, from editor to editor. Sometimes manuscripts are mysteriously lost in the shuffle, and while positive reports of anomalous evidence are subject to protracted review and or rejection, negative critics are sometimes rushed into print. Occasionally, a maverick report eventually does appear in a journal, but only after it has gone through some extensive modification that the original message has become totally obscured by editorial deletions and in some cases rewriting of data. All right, you guys see this censorship? Virginia C. McIntyre experienced many of the above-mentioned social pressures and obstacles. In a note to a colleague, July 10, 1976, she stated, "I had found out through backfence gossip that Hal Maldy, Roald Frixell, and I are considered opportunists and publicity seekers in some circles because of Hueyatlaco, and I am still smarting from the blow." So she's basically letting these people know, Michael Kurimeo, what she went through. So after many different cases of what she's going through, it says here, the case of Virginia C. McIntyre opens a rare window into the actual social processes of data suppression and paleoanthropology. This is why we're doing this video right here, because this has been going on for years, guys. Processes that involve a great deal of hurt and conflict. In general, however, this goes on behind the scenes, and the public sees only the end result. The carefully edited journals and books that have passed the censors. That's what all we get, all the censor stuff. A final note, we ourselves once tried to secure permission to reproduce photographs of the Hueyatlaco artifacts in a publication. We were informed that permission would be granted only if we have a date of no more than 30,000 years for the artifacts. Listen to what they got blackmailed. They say, well, we'll let you have the pictures if you only say it's 30,000 years old. That's it. But permission would be denied if we intended to cite a lunatic fringe date of 250,000 years. So you guys here, they're not even sharing the findings. We grant that the 250,000 year date may be wrong, but it is really appropriate to apply the term lunatic fringe to studies such as the one carried out by Steve McIntyre and her colleagues? That's a good question, all right? So that's the end of the talk here in this book. But again, this book points out a lot of things that are, again, forbidden in archaeology. This is one of them. This is a great book of all the incredible things they found, guys. If you like reading about this stuff, there's some amazing things here that'll blow your mind. I used to read this a long time ago. This is what I'm saying. This is the kind of previous studies I had before I even started my channel. When we were talking about America, the true old world, I just want you guys to see more and more proof. There's more and more finds, discoveries, you know, readings, books, scientific research, archaeological research that show America is the true old world, older, right, than all their monkey bones in Africa, okay? He's like, what you mean, man? I'm your ancestor. What you mean? I'm your ancestor. And I'm gonna ask you straight up, guys, is this your ancestor? So the same people telling you out of Africa theories are telling you that you come from apes. When you believe in out of Africa theories, you believe in evolution and you believe you come from apes, from this guy right here. And he loves it. He's like, yeah, I'm your ancestor, man. I'm your ancestor. This is in response to a lot of comments I get and a lot of people trying to tell me about the oldest humans found are in Africa. A lot of people leave me these comments and assume they're actually debunking anything we're saying about America being the true old world. So I just wanted to show everybody that these bones are not modern type humans. So you can't really use this as proof of Africa being the motherland. Again, these are not humans like me and you. These are still ape-like. So real quick, a lot of people tell me, no, they found the oldest bones in South Africa. As it says here in Science Alert, right? We're going to break this down. This 3.6 million year old fossil is the oldest, most complete human ancestor ever seen. It says after 20 years of slow, careful excavation, the world's most complete skeleton of an ancient human ancestor has just been unveiled. It belongs to the genus Australopithecus, and it's 3.6 million years old. It is by far the most complete hominin skeleton globally, older than 1.5 million years, and the oldest hominin skeleton ever found in South Africa. Its name is Littlefoot because the discovery of the skeleton started with 4 small foot bones, all right? Littlefoot. So I'm going to show you guys what Australopithecus looks like. All right, this is Australopithecus when you hit search, as you guys can see. All right, is this your ancestor? This is an ape. This is not a human. All right, you guys see this? This is what they're saying is the ancestor of the humans. Moving on to nationalgeographic.com, it says here, what was Lucy? All right, because a lot of people say, well, Lucy, you know, is the oldest bones. Really? You know, they made the movie and everything, made her look like a human, but then they showed the evolution, like, it says, what was Lucy? Has facts on an early human ancestor. Perhaps the world's most famous early human ancestor, the 3.2 million year old ape, all right, ape, Lucy was the first Australopithecus afarensis skeleton ever found, though her remains are only about 40% complete. Discovered in 1974 by paleontologist Donald C. Johansen in Hadar, Ethiopia. All right, so if you guys remember, like they were finding the Calavera skull and all this other stuff here in Americas at the same time. And so they needed something to like throw people's attention away from what they were finding actually here in the Americas, actual modern type human bones and strata that's very old. And so they, you know, find these apes, literally apes, and then they say, oh, look, human ancestors started in Africa. What did Lucy look like? With a mixture of ape and human features, including long dangling arms, but pelvic spine, foot, and leg bones suited to walking upright. Again, this is not my ancestor, so I don't know if this is your ancestor, you know. But I just wanted to show you guys that's an ape. So again, you know, you'll find all kinds of reports about another early human ancestor found. This one, 3.8 million, again in Ethiopia, and again, Australopithecus. All right, this is an ape. It's a monkey. It's not a human. Real quick, just going over some of the you know, mainstream oldest fossils in the world, right? They try to say humans come out of. All right, they're saying Pecking Man, Homo erectus, right? Homo erectus. PBS.org says meet your ancestors, right? They saying Homo erectus looks like this. This your ancestor? Come on, man. Homo erectus? All right. This is not a human, okay? Java Man was proven to be a hoax, okay? I mean, you can research the Moyokerto child, again, Homo erectus. These are not humans. Turkana boy, again, Homo erectus in Kenya. Again, not a human. This is apes. Dimanisi skulls and Dimanisi Georgia, again, Homo erectus. Again, apes. We got Twiggy, Homo habilis. Again, not a modern human. This is an ape too. Tanzania. Here is Homo habilis. All right, like I'm saying, these are apes. These ain't humans. Then we got KNMER, Homo rudolfensis from Kenya again. And that's your boy Rudolph Fences. All right, he got a little beard, all right? He got a little beard, all right? Wow. Oh man, look at this. Look, they try to make him look almost real human so they can like, look, that's where you come from. Man, this is so bad. Wow. Then we got another Homo habilis, KNMER 1813. We got another Homo rudolfensis. All right, these are all apes. None of them are humans. All right, none of them are human. Another website here says newsweek.com. Another thing you'll see when it comes to finding all these ancient humans that are supposed to be ancestors, there's a lot of debates where they really originated. A lot of people would tell you it was in Europe or in Asia, not in Africa. They found similar, ape men in these continents. For example, they got ancient hominin skull from China suggests humans didn't evolve just from African ancestors. Oh, not out of Africa? Well, we've been saying that, yeah, for the longest, right? They're calling this the Dali skull. The Dali skull. Most scientists believe all modern humans are descended from African ancestors, but a new analysis of an ancient Chinese skull found too many similarities to the earliest human fossils found in Africa to be a coincidence. Maybe we didn't all originate in Africa, all right? So again, the Dali skull, which is a species of Homo erectus. In case you have any doubts, this is Homo erectus, all right? According to what they say, all right? So are these all your ancestors? Huh? Are these all your ancestors right here? Homo erectus? This look like the wild man. It's just as old as the ones in Africa, and proven all these ape men didn't come out of Africa. Not even the ape men came out of all Africa. They can't even prove that. But it has nothing to do with humans, modern humans, or me and you. At least not with me. If you think you come from monkeys, hey, that's your own thing. Found another article here, National Geographic, oldest skeleton of human ancestors found. There was never a chimp-like missing link between humans and today's apes, says a new fossil skeleton study that could rewrite evolutionary theory, said one scientist. It changes everything, all right? Again, evolutionary theory, because it's not a fact, it's a theory of evolution, right? Move over, Lucy, and kiss the missing link goodbye. Scientists today announced the discovery of the oldest fossil skeleton of a human ancestor. The find reveals that our forebears underwent a previously unknown stage of evolution more than 1 million years before Lucy, the iconic early human ancestor specimen that walked the earth 3.2 million years ago. The centerpiece of a treasure trove of new fossils, the skeleton assigned to a species called Ardipithecus ramidus, all right? Belonged to a small-brained, 110-pound female nicknamed Artie, all right? What does he look like? And this is what Ardipithecus ramidus looks like. Again, this is an ape. Like, are you serious? They're debunking Darwinism, but they're still like, talking about apes here. Are these your ancestors? The fossil puts to rest a notion popular since Darwin's time that a chimpanzee-like missing link resembling something between humans and today's apes would eventually be found at the root of the human family tree. All right, so they haven't never found a missing link. I just want to show that. They just keep saying that all these humans found in all these places are actually apes. They're not really humans. Says here, chimpanzee, human's last common ancestor. The chimpanzee human last common ancestor is the last common ancestor shared by the extant Homo, human, and pan chimpanzee bonobo genera of hominy. All right, they're talking about as early as 13 million years ago, Miocene. All right, Dutch the hijack big time. I want to show you something real quick. It says here, fossil evidence. No fossil has yet conclusively been identified. Okay? They're just making it all up. A possible, maybe, candidate is Gracopithecus. Gracopithecus. What's that? That's Gracopithecus, yo. You know what I'm saying? They're all apes, guys. Europe was the birthplace of mankind, not Africa. Why? Because they found Gracopithecus, this guy, in Europe. So again, they can't even prove that Ape Man came from Africa. Talking about out of Africa's theories. So again, anywhere you look, you're gonna just keep finding them trying to link you up to apes. This is Scientific American. Fossil reveals what last common ancestor of humans and apes look like. Human and apes, 13 million years ago, all right? And then now, real quick again, mainstream info. We gotta dodge the hijack, but we go through the supposed 8 oldest human remains in the world. All right, according to them, we got the Mungo Man from Australia. All right, 40,000 and 60,000 years old. Again, remember, they're never gonna show us anything coming out of America because America's not supposed to have people. Remember, they got us on that Bering Strait lie and theory. But we know how to dodge the hijack. We know America's the true old world, the oldest land, the oldest fossil, agriculture, man, civilization, all that. But let's just go down the list because we got to talk about this stuff because people try to use these things, all right? So, you know, we got him. We got the Tampai Ling remains, 46,000, 63,000 years ago. And this is what they got, a little bit of skull and stuff like that. So again, this is Australia. This one was in Laos. This next one, the skull of Kafan, is in Israel. They're saying 80,000 to 120,000 years old. Then they got the Hurdle Man, all right, Ethiopia. We're going to see the Hurdle Man. They try to make him look very human, but he's still, none of these people are actual modern type humans. You can try to use them to debate, but they're not modern type humans. So I'm just going to look at you very funny when you try to use that as your source. The Hurdle Man, again, is considered a human subspecies called Homo sapiens idaltu. It's not the actual modern humans like me and you. Then we got Misleja Cave Jawbone from Israel again. They're going to probably, try to put a lot of Israel stuff here. So they got a jawbone. The Omo remains from Ethiopia. And this is what they got, skulls. And again, none of these are modern type humans. They're subspecies, they'll tell you. So again, looking up, you'll see they're not Homo sapiens sapiens. They're not regular. And then they try to recreate them looking a lot more human. The Dali Man we went over, again, China. All right, that's an ape. And now we're going to get into the Jebel Irhoud skulls, all right, in Morocco. We've gone over it a little bit before, but we're going to go over it again. A lot of people tell me, no, Kurimeo, they found the oldest humans in Morocco. It's older now, all right? It's still Africa. It proves Africa's still the origin. So we're going to talk about Jebel Irhoud skulls, all right? Because this is not a modern human either. This is what they're officially using right now as the oldest modern human. And it's not. If you believe in this, you believe in evolution. We're talking about apes. And it says the skulls found at Jebel Irhoud Archeological Site in Morocco are believed to be the oldest known human remains. I believe to be. Again, these are not modern humans. These are still apish, primitive, primates.
Monkey bones. We're going to talk about these monkey bones. When they found that bone in Morocco, right? The Jebel Irhoud. You guys need to study this stuff. This is from the U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institute of Health, The Origin and Evolution of Homo sapiens, right? So we restrict the use of Homo sapiens and the fossil erectus specimens which share a significant number of derived features in the skeleton with extant Homo sapiens. The origin of our species would be placed in Africa, late Middle Pleistocene, based on fossils such as Homo kibish and the Levantine material from skull and Kafed. However, genetic data suggests that we and our sister species, Homo neanderthalis, shared a last common ancestor in the Middle Pleistocene, 400 to 700, which is at least 200,000 years or earlier. So that's what we're going to talk about, this shared ancestor. So he's literally telling us, they're telling us right now that our modern Homo sapiens have a common ancestor with Neanderthals, which is what they're really talking about. Let me show you. This is the bone they found in Morocco, right? The Jebel Irhoud cave was exposed during a quarrying operation with Bardi mine, and since 1961 has produced fanial remains, non-Arcturian MSA archaeology, and at least 7 fossil hominids with several more specimens found since 2007 awaiting publication. The fossil human remains are from low in the stratigraphic sequence, the best known being a cranium, a calvaria, and the mandible of a child. The cranium is relatively long and low with smooth rather than angular contours. It has a strong continuous suborbital torus anterior to somewhat domed frontal and parallel-sided cranial vault with a capacity of about 1305 centimeters, 1,305 centimeters. The face is large and especially broad in its upper dimensions with flat angled cheekbones and a broad but low nose, below which is a significant alveolar prognatism, all right? Prognatism. You guys know what that is? When the mouth sticks out a little bit. Just like the apes. It is somewhat larger, all right? More robust and angular calvaria with a cranial capacity of approximately 1,400 centimeters. It has a greater occipital projection and angulation, more modern parietal and frontal shape, but equally strong supraorbital development. Now, although comparisons of midline contours suggest Homo sapien affinities for both cranial vaults and multivariate studies indicate somewhat closer affinities for J2 to recent human samples. Both display some phonetic resemblances to early modern specimens, such as those of the Kosev school and Hertel, though they lack upper parietal expansion and cranial vault but not facial form. There is nevertheless an overall resemblance to the Sema fossils and other early Neanderthals. The J13 immature mandible presents a rather contrasting graceful body and larger posterior teeth, and anterior may show incipient chin development. J14 is a robust partial humerus despite its immaturity, while there is also a further immature pelvic fragment. Overall, there is enough preserved of J1, JI1 to indicate that it does not, all right, it does not represent anatomically modern Homo sapiens. We're talking about ape bones. I know you guys don't like hearing that, but we're talking about ape bones this whole time. Yet we don't do the research. This whole Moroccan bone thing. Oh, now it's older. It proves that we're still in Africa. That's not a anatomically modern Homo sapien. It does not represent anatomically modern Homo sapiens. Although there are hints of modern basiocranial flexion in the relationship of the face and vault, J12 and 3 are more difficult to assess because of their incompleteness. But the teeth of Earhart were subjected to synchrotron analysis, which suggests an age at death about 8 years. All right. So, you know, you have to kind of read things, and you got to get a lot of this stuff. I don't understand a lot of this stuff, but I got the drop. It does not represent anatomically, and that's what I wanted to verify. Now, if we go with bones like this, which are not modern type humans, and you've been saying this whole time that the oldest bones of modern humans were, you've been, first of all, you've been spreading a lie, not even knowing, right? You've been confusing people. You actually believe in Darwinism. This is all part of Darwinism. You don't understand that they're telling you that this bone in Morocco, the brain size was smaller. That's why the frontal part stuck out. That's why the frontal part stuck out. Let me like this. This frontal part, and the head leans back. There's less space for the brain. What scientists say is that what became in humans, the brain got a little bigger, and so it pushed to the front. This is what they found in Morocco. You see this frontal thing? This is what they were talking about. The bridge, what's it called? The brow ridge. That sticks out, and the head is way back here, and he has a prognatism coming down here. The cheekbones are flat. Native American or American Indians had high cheekbones. These cheekbones are flat. They're flat. This frontal part right here, all this is not a modern type human. Jebel Ragud, right, is an archaeological site located just north of the locality known as, all right, so this is where they found the bone. I want you to see it's the same one. That's not a modern human, man. We already got the scientific report, right? Morphology. When comparing these fossils with those of modern humans, the main difference is the elongated shape of the fossil brain case. According to the researchers, this indicates that brain shape and possibly brain functions evolved with the Homo sapiens lineage and relatively recently. So we're talking about evolution. We're talking about Darwinism if we're going to believe this Morocco bone. We're talking about an ape that's not fully a human yet. He's almost human. Remember, they call it a missing link. Have they found the missing link yet? I'll wait. They're trying to link you to monkeys. The Jebel Irbound individuals also had a very thick brow ridges. That's an ape thing, and lacked prognatism. The degree of tooth developed found is similar to modern European children at the same age, but teeth rods develop faster than the modern humans. Not like modern humans. I got articles for days on this. They're saying the same thing. So they're literally saying here, it has therefore been suggested that the archaic features of the Irho fossil archaic features. They're not modern type features. These old archaic features of the earthworm fossils may indicate that North African Homo sapiens interbred with Neanderthals. You Neanderthal too? You interbreeding with Neanderthals? Or that earthworm homins represent a North African late surviving archaic population, and old is not modern type humans. So you believe in all this evolution stuff, huh? Both found in cave in Morocco. Despite their primitive features, these ancient people could blend in with a modern crowd. So despite their primitive features, myths don't really belong on a list of important science stories, but some evolutionary fables get on this list anyway. All right? It was a bad year for the myth about human evolution. The Jebel Irban excavations, all right? They're telling you that even the age is controversial. Jebel Irban, Morocco, best known for the yield and abundant late Pleistocene hominin remains associated with Lavois-based Middle Stone Age tool assemblage. Taxonomically, these fossils have generally been considered to be primitive forms of Homo sapiens. And I want to ask the chat right now, are you a primitive form of a Homo sapien? Is that what you are? You descend from primitive things.
All right, so that's it for that. I mean, there's nothing really more to say. It's literally apes, guys. It's monkey bones. I've been trying to tell you that. So, I hope you enjoyed that. And I hope the trolls stop trying to use that as their proof, for out of Africa theories.
Robert Dre, peace, bye. Bye.